What's up, my dudes? Got us another MX Simulator track review 2019 Tampa MX made by Christian Jonesy. I don't even know. Jones, I don't even know how to say it, dog. It's a little confusing how your username was there. But so an interesting thing that I've noticed that's happened ever since they've started having this whole erode terrain deformation in the pro racing of this game is you're starting to see people going in there and making just random custom tracks for this game that are sort of built around like needing to have the terrain deformation turned on in the game or the erode turned on in the game to even make the track like it's quote unquote supposed to be, right? So it's like basically now people are making, some people anyways, are making custom tracks that are made for erode on MX Simulator. And I think this is a massive mistake. I honestly do. I think this is a very sketchy sort of rabbit hole that we're going down here, boys. Now, I don't think it's probably as critical on this track, but certainly you could see the issue where if it gets to the point where people just start making custom tracks completely flat, hardly any ruts in the corners, to try to make it to where the erode is going to make the track, right? Well, the issue with that is 9 out of 10 people that go in there and download a random custom track, they're just wanting to hop on there and test your track out, dog. They're just wanting to hop on there in single player. Let's see what the track's all about. Let's test it. Let's ride on it, right? And the problem with that is if you build your tracks around a road, they're going to be flat tracking. They're going to be riding on something that's not even made for that. Whereas really, I feel like 9 out of 10 people, that's what they do with random custom tracks. They just hop on there real quick by themselves. Let's test this track out. Let's see what it's all about, right? And even if you want to go in there and turn the erode on in like where you're just solo riding on that custom track, the problem is odds are you're not even going to have the erode high enough to even be making ruts anyways. If there's only one bike on the track, you'd have to run like 5,000 laps over a decade's worth of time, to try to get any ruts on the track, and or you're going to have the erode turned up way too high and it's not even going to make it properly anyways if you're in there on single player, right? So this is a really weird sort of road we're going down here, and I really do not think people need to make custom tracks built around a road. I mean, it's okay if you want to go in there and make one or two for that, right? But I certainly do not think this needs to become like the norm or anything like that, because it's completely, I mean, the only thing that really needs to be made for erode in this game is either a couple little random like erode testing type tracks, or and I don't even think they need to do it in the pro racing, right? I don't even think they need to have erode in the pro racing right now with the way that it is. But for damn sure, don't need to think you need to be going in there and like building custom tracks around it. It's really, I don't know. I don't see that ever really working in the long term effect. Now you can still get on here and hop on this track and ride around it with no erode on the track, right? And it's still quite a bit of fun. Like he still has built some ruts in the corners and some, like standard ruts and kind of kickery roughness and stuff going up jump faces. He still has some of that there, so it still is somewhat of fun. But I guess you see what I'm trying to get at, where I'm saying that most people are not going to be going in there with the proper amount of erode to even make the right kind of roughness that you want them to make on your custom track anyways, right? So it's like, that's what I'm trying to get at, is it's not, if you try to make a track around a road, like a random custom track, it's probably not, 99% of people are probably not even going to be making that sort of track that you're imagining in your head anyways, because most people don't even have it turned on. Most people are playing solo when they're riding on random custom tracks like that. I mean, literally, guys, that's just the way it is. I'm not trying to be like, mean to anybody here or whatever. I'm just being straight up honest. Like, it's really not a smart idea to make random custom tracks in this game around a road. I just had to get that off my chest, because I don't want to get to the point to where we've got every single new custom track is just flat tracking, super small ruts made for Erode in the game, because then you got to try to get all these other people to ride on it with you, because it really just doesn't make proper Erode if you're riding on a track by yourself, unless you want to run 10,000 laps on it. It's just not going to do it. Or you're going to have the damn Erode turned up so high that it's going to make these janky, triangled out, warped out looking terrain formations, and it's not going to make good shit anyways. And it still does that to a certain extent anyways. Even if you have the perfect amount of riders with a perfect amount of Erode on, it still makes triangled out, spliced out ruts as it is anyway. So you just imagine going in there and not having that perfect amount of rider combination with perfect amount of Erode. It is just made a clusterfuck and a half. I swear to God. Like, it is so hard to get a certain track with the proper, like, Erode if that track is made around it. It's one thing if you go in there and just make a track standardly. You don't, like, make it for Erode, you know what I mean? You don't tame down your ruts and tame down the roughness and all that, like trying to make it around Erode. It's one thing to go in there and just make a normal track and then turn some Erode on it, right? That's one thing. That's kind of like the whole thing we were talking about, doing the 80% pre-made, 20% Erode on the actual pro racing of this game. I don't see that as being nowhere near as the issue, because you still have that original default track that people can ride on with no Erode in their own single player, still get that original true experience of the track, but then also people that want to go in there and have a little bit more of a different, like, changing over time hardcore track can go in there and turn like 10% Erode on top of that and still get a little bit of that experience, but you don't kill that whole single player, just go in there and test out the track and have that original what the track is supposed to be type form. You don't just completely ruin that, right? So that's my whole sort of side of that. But there's still a lot of people that make custom tracks in this game with, like, they don't go in there and say, hey, you need to have Erode on for this or that or whatever. There's still a lot of people that make standard, normal motocross and supercross tracks in this game. So what it's done is it's just split the community, basically. It's just splintered the community. It's made it to where, I mean, you're trying to go back and ride on all those older custom tracks and pro tracks from like 2017 and older, trying to put Erode on top of that stuff, it doesn't really work out all that great unless you have a super, super small amount of Erode, and then it's like, what's the point anyways? So it's kind of splintered the community in a way, and I just don't feel like it's good for the game, guys, overall. I really don't. Cool little huck right here, boys. Nice little huck to jump up over top of that. So either way, yes, the corner ruts are gonna have that bit of the bizarre, like, smaller rut filling, and he runs into a bit of an issue here where you start to get that, like, you feel like you just need to take the inside on every single corner because none of the outside ruts are big enough, right? Because it's not that, like, standard MX simulator. Like, typically what you do with a default no terrain deformation track in this game is you'll make your inside ruts a little bit smaller, but you'll make your outside ruts a little bit bigger. That way they can grab you more in the corner and you can bank off of that outside rut harder, so you can carry more speed, so it balances out the lines, right? Like, you don't want to have an inside rut that's huge and then an outside rut that's super small, unless you make it like crazy rough huge on the inside so it's actually harder to hit. I feel like a lot of the balance of that default base version of the track gets erased very easily when you try to make a track around Erode, because it's like they make every single rut in every corner the exact same size because they're trying to make it to where it's like, you want to go to the outside and build that rut, or do you want to go to the inside and build that rut? But what causes that, what comes out of that is when you go in here and don't ride with any Erode on a track that's made for Erode, you just go up the inside on every single corner because the outside berm's not even big enough to even be faster going around the outside. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, he's got a slight little bit more of it here. You can see it a little bit, right? But it's just not the same, guys. So either way, this track was not bad. Like, it wasn't a bad track. I just feel like I wanted to use this track as an example of this, right? This whole, I've seen a couple people kind of going down that road of making just random standard custom tracks built for Erode. Like I said, it's one thing if you want to go in there and make a silly Erode testing track that's made for that, or like you're going in there making a pro track or something like that, or it's for the pro racing of the game, that's completely different because you know you're going to have 40 riders on it and you know you get to depict the road and how much terrain deformation you have on it. But just a standard random custom track in this game to just go in there and say, hey, you need to have some erode on this to make the corners properly, that's that's never really going to work, guys. I hate to say it, but that's never going to pan out like you want it to. Because even if you go in there and tell people to run a certain erode on your track or whatever, 9 out of 10 people still aren't going to do it anyways. They're going to, because most people, I feel like, that just ride on random custom tracks or they ride on some of the older tracks of this game, they just have their erode turned off in the game because it's pointless. There's no point in even having it on. Like, I don't even have erode on when I'm offline on this game at all. I never have it on because it's so boring going and riding on those tracks that are made for erode. That's just boring to me unless you have the perfect amount of people with the perfect amount of erode, which is not easy to get. Like, that's not an easy thing to have happen, you know what I mean? You got to have enough people to show up. You got to have all these other little aspects to even get the erode remotely rideable on a certain track. And that's so hard to do on just somebody's new random custom track. It's almost impossible, like it really is. So either way, the track's fun. I mean, it's not like a terrible track. It kind of seems like some sort of replica track. Tampa MX, I don't know if I've ever really heard of that exactly. Seems familiar, seems like it'd be a replica vibe, but I don't know for sure. It's got all these banners, kind of has that like amateur vibe type style to it. Now, don't really know what's going on up here, dog. I think you might have forgot a little up on your skybox, little north up skybox. Tell you that's not north, that would be up, right? So you have up, down, east, west, north, south, right? So like up is that square, then it'd be like, or no. Up is that square, and then that's like the north square, and then it'd be like east square, south square, west square. You know what I mean? That's kind of typically. He's got 2 suns. What the fuck? I just now noticed that. Oh, we're in another dimension here, dudes. Basically, what this looks like he did is he put a skybox in that just didn't have the actual up, the top square. You know what I mean? Because that looks like the default square skybox thing. So that's a little bizarre. That can make the track feel a little bit weird because it doesn't even look like a skybox anymore. You know what I mean? Kind of crazy how a skybox really is just 4 flat pieces of a picture. Technically it's 5. Technically it's 6 because you have an up and a down. You have a top and a bottom, right? But what that does is it creates that seamless effect where it doesn't even look like you're in a box. It doesn't even look like a box. But when you have something out of place like that, you can really see the box effect of it, and it takes away that seamless realism aspect of it. So I don't know if that's just a little mistake or what, but can't be having that, dog. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty massive on the buggy mistake error of a custom track. But overall, as far as just the design of the jumps and some of that kind of stuff, like I say, not terrible. Over like kind of cool how he made some of these pre-made little ruts going up the face of this and kind of made this a little bit kickered out in some areas, gives it a really cool feeling. I mean, this is what I continue to say. Like, you're never going to have a road that makes these kind of ruts going up a jump face. It's never going to do this right here, ever. And you guys know this is a lot of times how it looks on a real-life motocross track, a rutted real-life motocross track. So that's the thing, guys. It's not like I'm hating on roughness and ruts and stuff. I'm just trying to get across the road in this game does not make it like it's supposed to be. It makes this triangled out, looks like a deformity, basically. Like, I don't know any other way to explain it. It'd be one thing if it actually made the ruts like real-life ruts, then I would be a lot more acceptant to the terrain deformation of this game, but the problem is it just doesn't. And what it's doing is it's eliminating a lot of the simplistic, fun nature of just being able to go in there and download a random custom track and just riding on whatever track that is. Now it's like, you got to look and see if it's in a road track, and am I supposed to have a road on, and what level of a road am I supposed to have on with how many bikes I have on it, and because it all depends on how big they make the ruts. Like, for instance, let's just say completely flat, then obviously you would want your road higher than you would want it like this right here. You see what I'm getting at? But my deal is, I just still to this day don't feel like a road should be the norm when you go in there and design a random custom track. That shouldn't be like the norm of what you think in your head. Like, let's build this around a road. Let's build this for a road. I just don't feel like a road's going to last in this game. I still to this day do not feel like it's a permanent, this is how the game is supposed to be played. And if it is that way, it's going to be complete ass, because you're going to kill all of your thousands and thousands of old track content if we just get to the day in MX Simulator where it's like pretty much forced a road to a certain extent, you know what I mean, where it's just a road and you just have a road on every single track and every single track is made for a road. Oh my God, that would be a nightmare and a half, dog, with this current type of a road, right? Save that shit for MX Simulator 2. Save that shit for another day. It ain't made for this game, man. It is not yeah, it'll make ruts, but not what you can make pre-made, not even close, not even half of what you can pre-make. Like, perfect example, like I was saying, this right here, you would never get that kind of rut design up a jump face like that, ever. And you can make gnarly-ass pre-made ruts, you know what I mean? If you're trying to get that gnarly motocross roughness effect on MX Sim, you can do that with pre-made ruts. You can make some gnarly-ass ruts, but the only difference is they don't have that janky-ass triangled splice effect like what you get with the Erode in the game. It's just better in every way. Pre-made ruts are better in every way. If you want to have change like on a specific track, then make different versions of it. Make a prep version, make a rough version, make a Pastrana rough version, you know what I mean? So that people can have that little bit of difference. But damn, man, there's just such an obsession in this game with having that change over time. And I just don't understand that. I don't understand that. I really don't. Because 9 times out of 10, it ain't even going to change that much in real life anyways. Like, it's just not. And it's not going to have that amount of smooth ruts from the jump of the race anyways. It's already going to have more built-up, pre-made type roughness and ruts on a track. So, but either way, guys, not a terrible track, fun, obviously a little bit more standard off-track stuff and little issues with skybox and stuff like that. But as far as the actual on-track itself, it was kind of pretty fun to ride on. Nice little wheelie up the face of that. But you do certainly get that vibe where you just feel like you're hitting the inside on everything. And that's the fastest way around the whole track because nothing else is built up. No outside berms are built up. The roughness, there is a little bit of it. But see, it kills all your balance as well because you can't like make the inside super rough and the outside more smooth to give you where you can kind of balance out where you could go around the outside and it would still be just as fast as going up the inside. You can't really do that as much when you have a track made for a road because if you make that much roughness on the inside, then it's just going to completely kill that inside corner once the road starts hitting it, and then everybody's going to take the outside. You know, so I don't know, man. I just don't think anybody is capable in this game of really balancing a track for the current road system of this game. Nobody is really capable of doing that. Because it just doesn't really make it like you think it would. And it kills so many other elements of it. But like right here, you can just cut up the inside, not hit any of those ruts, right? And you still don't go off the track, you know. What I would have done right here is built this up a little bit more. Or like drew that corner, this inside of this corner out more to the corner because there is literally no point in hitting the outside right here. Because, I mean, you're not really going to be able to jump all the way to like here. Not realistically, definitely not consistently, so it's not really giving you a reason to go to the outside. You got to be real careful when you get these easy local jump vibe tracks because you really got to be able to balance to where you don't just have everybody hitting the inside of every corner. You know what I mean? You got to kind of balance that. And he's got a little bit more of that balance when you get like right over here. Like if you go up the inside, he's kind of drew this corner out a lot more here. But if you go up the inside, you're not going to be able to jump this jump all the way on top of this table. See what I'm saying? So that gives you that balance of like, okay, you can go to the outside, and it's actually worth it because you're going to be totally jumping over some jumps versus going up the inside, cutting off a little bit of time, and not jumping that huge jump. So it's all a balancing game, and I feel like the Erode just kind of shits on that in every way. It makes it to where you can't balance it, because if you try to balance it, then the Erode is going to fuck up one line or another. You know what I mean? But you can come up, you can go up the inside of that corner back there by that tree, just hit this little tabletop, and then hit this tabletop, but over jump this, plumb into this roughness right here, and then take it through like that. But this corner, you just feel like inside every time is the best way. You kind of like cut this corner, cut to the inside of this corner, roll up the inside here. You don't really need to jump this any bigger, because you're just doubling and then to this finish line tabletop right here. So a couple little balancing issues going on here, and the Erode, making it for Erode in the corners definitely doesn't help a goddamn thing. I mean, like I'm saying, I don't even think I could balance a track for Erode. I'm not trying to say I could do it. I'm saying no one can really do it, because it's so fucked. Like, you got to understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm not blaming you or saying you, like, did a bad job in that sense. Like, I don't think anybody can really balance it for that. Because you can't, like, make certain ruts bigger, other ruts not as big, because then it just becomes one-lined as fuck with the Erode system of the game. So, a couple little standard triples, triple back to this side. But overall, I'd say she's somewhere around that average zone. I'd probably give this track like a 5 overall. Not terrible, not amazing. But yeah, that's where I'm at on it. But I just wanted to use this track as an example. Some of you guys that are making custom tracks out there, you need to be careful making Erode custom tracks. Like, you're going to go down a hell of a rabbit hole, because not everybody is going to be on there with 7 or 8 different buddies with a certain amount of Erode that's you guys have went in there and tested it with. You know what I mean? Not every just random old Joe is going to do that. Most people just get on there by themselves in solo offline just to try your track out. And odds are they're probably not going to have Erode on, because most other tracks aren't made for Erode like that. You know what I mean? So it's just, like, I'm just imagining myself. He said in his actual forum post of this track, you want to have Erode on to build the corners. Well, I just imagine myself if I was riding on this track solo and had the Erode on like 5 or 10. If you have it much higher than that, it's just going to make it shitty as hell. I would have it on like 5 or 10 or 15 maybe. If you go much higher, I mean, you're going to notice it quicker, but it's just going to make it shitty. Like, that's the problem with the Erode. The quicker it makes it and the higher you go with it, it just makes it worse and worse. Like, the best Erode you can make in this game is tons of riders with super low Erode, which most people don't have those kind of connections and resources in solo when you're playing offline solo. Like, your average Joe in this game just doesn't really have 40 other people to ride with on a track at any given moment, you know what I mean? So they're not even really experiencing that track. Whereas if you'd have just came in here and made this track without Erode in mind, it would have been way better of a track. I already know it would have been. Like, some of the way you made some of this pre-made roughness and ruts going up these jump phases, track would have been sick as hell. And some of this little bit of changing terrain, you don't have like perfectly flat areas, would have been awesome. If you'd have really built these ruts up a little more, you got some ruts going up the face of this, kind of changing widths. Like on the width of the lip, you've got changing heights of those jumps on that, and little pre-made ruts going up the faces of some of this stuff. Like, this would have been so much better had you just made this for more of a pre-made system versus a road system. It just gives it such more basic, weird, simplistic filling in the corners for 90% of the time you're riding on the track, even with a road, because it's not even made it enough of a rut in the corner. It's so stupid. Like, it's just so stupid. Why would you try to put a road on something that you can already pre-make better? It literally makes no sense, guys. I mean, I know I keep going on and on about a road, but god damn, people are just not getting it. Like they're just not getting it. It's fun to go in there and mess around with it, by all means. It's been that way forever. It's fun to go experiment with the road and be like, oh, what's this? It's kind of crazy. It's kind of cool. There's terrain deformation in MX Sim. But it should never become the norm. It should never become the standard. It should never be in the pro racing until it is like 10 times better than it is currently, which I just don't think they're ever going to get there in this current version of MX Sim. I don't think it's even possible with the current engine and I don't think they're ever going to make it like true, real terrain deformation and cush to the dirt, and I just don't think it's ever going to happen. So either way, 5 overall difficulty, fucking easy to medium, somewhere around there. And I don't even feel like going in there and turning the Erode on, because I know how it is. It's either I'm going to have to go run 40 laps on this shit with like super low Erode by myself, or I'm going to have to go in there and try to find other people to ride on. It's just a hassle. It turns everything into a hassle when you could have just made an awesome track from the beginning, and I could have came in here and experienced that in solo and reviewed it. Like, it just overcomplicates everything, dude. I don't know any other way to explain it. But either way, I'm not shitting on you. I'm kind of making an example out of this and kind of, don't take it personally like that. I'm just speaking in a general basis on like just a standard custom track made for Erode. I just think that's a really bad idea for people to start doing that in this game. So either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.